Hey everybody, Spencer here from Leading Worship Well. This is the place where we talk about how to lead yourself well, lead your church well, and lead worship well. And I'm here with a very special guest. It is Ryan Dahl from PraiseCharts. Ryan, thanks so much for joining me today. Ryan is the founder and CEO of PraiseCharts. So thanks for joining us. We're going to be talking about the top 10 fast worship songs for 2022. And I've got Ryan on today because we're going to be using the list from his website. And Ryan, I'd love for you to just tell us maybe a little bit about yourself, first of all, as far as your worship leading experience, because I know you've got a lot of that. But also, I'd love for you to tell us how these lists are formulated.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on this show. You've caught me in this is a little weak spot in my own self because I love lists. Like maybe that's why Praise Charts has so many lists, is because I just love seeing how songs come and rise and fall and dip and flow, and it just sort of like evokes a bit of the personality of the church all around the world. So in any given week, you'll find me, digging into the deep backgrounds of Praise Charts data, trying to see what songs are kind of, in fact, that's how I woke up this morning at around 7 a.m. and I wanted to see like what was trending since yesterday. And so I just love all that stuff. It's fun that we can have this conversation here. So yeah, I'm like 24 years into this with Praise Charts. It started out when I was just a worship pastor, probably just like, or a worship leader, even just like many people listening in. And I am no great recording, band leader. Nobody listens to my albums or nothing like that. I'm your most average worship leader that is out there. But I love this world, and I do get to lead worship. Had a wonderful time just with a very small group, just me at the piano on Tuesday, and led some songs that really came to life because I saw them in the Praise Charts lists. I'm like, wow, a lot of people are catching on to this song. I should try it. And and it's beautiful when you see people like standing or raising their hands. You're like, wow, I just didn't realize how great of a song that was. So I'm excited about talking about some of these songs. I know some of them quite well. Some of them I know of them. Some of them I've tried and failed. So you're going to get the full round of Ryan Dahl today.
Yeah, and then just give us just a quick rundown of how this list is formulated.
Right. Well, in behind Praise Charts is a lot of real-time customer-focused data. So every time you come and look at a song or download a song or purchase a song, all of that data kind of real-time feeds into Praise Charts. So the beautiful thing about all the lists in Praise Charts is they're constantly renewing and recycling themselves every day. Now, some lists are going to be based on results of the last month or maybe the last quarter or even the last year. Some are the last week, even the last day. So I think this one we're looking at today is maybe like of the last couple of months. So it's like a really good, solid list of songs, but it's all your activity, people all over the world. We don't have an agenda behind any of these songs. And I can tell you that because some of my favorite songs don't make the list. And that's just the way it is. This is the voice of the people.
That's right, yeah, and I think that's really important. Like, these aren't songs that Ryan and I have picked, so we might, when we get to these songs, we might be like, I don't think that's a good song for my church personally, or maybe it's just not a congregational worship song. I know when I've done these lists in the past, I've been like, I don't really agree with some of these songs being on this particular list, but that's what churches are doing. So probably the collective wisdom is more right than my individual wisdom. So that's why I like
And
these
maybe
lists.
we could say this, is if you're listening in and out of all 10 of these songs, if there's one song you're like, I need to check that song out, that might be a win for you in this little session we have today. So
For sure. And speaking of that, I will have links to all of these songs over on Praise Charts website. I'll have those linked down in the description below, along with a link to this list, which, like Ryan said, they keep updated all the time. So without further ado, let's get into the top 10 fast, upbeat worship songs for 2022. And the top 10 upbeat worship song for 2022. Spot number 10 goes to How Great Thou Art by Paul Baloche. This is interesting because it's an oldie but a goodie in the sense that it
Yeah.
is a classic hymn, but it's also an arrangement from 2007. So, Ryan, do you have
Yeah.
any experience with this song?
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't have experience listening to and playing How Great Thou Art? It's such a classic gem of the church. And it sings so well in a modern, upbeat kind of way, as well as there's lots of great arrangements of it that are more moderate and slow. I happened to listen to it again this morning, and just what Paul has done. I've become actually quite good friends with Paul and done lots of interviews and talked with him. He's such a great worship leader and father heart to worship leaders, and really loves the church. And I think through this arrangement, one thing I noticed about this is you're not actually singing super upbeat, but there's a driving beat to this arrangement that, and I think the benefit of that is that people who are singing along are not going to feel like, oh my God, you've just taken an old classic hymn and now I'm singing it twice as fast just so that we can have this upbeat song. It's just, it's got that 4 on the floor driving beat. It's not that difficult to get. I would recommend you have a multi-track or something so that you keep a solid rhythm with this. And I think the reason why this is doing so well is all the generations are coming together. More conservative churches, older folks, younger folks, everybody can identify with the song and the rhythm of this. That's why I think it's a no-brainer that it would be in the top 10. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to find that a lot with a lot of these songs coming up, is like that 4 on the floor drum beat to keep that pounding rhythm going. I also have like the BPM of all these songs. I've figured out all of those, and like this one is at 108 for a BPM, but we're going to see BPMs all over the place. So I think maybe in a separate conversation that Ryan and I are going to have is like, what actually makes a song upbeat, because it's not just playing the song faster. So if you're interested in that conversation, I'll link our other conversation down in the description below as well.
Very
so there
good.
it was. Number 10 was How Great Thou Art by Paul Baloche. On to number 9. Number 9 on the list for fast upbeat worship songs for 2022. Number 9 is You Are Good, specifically the Lakewood Church version, but obviously originally wrote by Israel Houghton. So what are your thoughts on this one? This is a mover and a shaker.
It definitely is. I definitely have experience playing this one in a worship team. And if your church is up for a song like this, if they want to get a little groove on, I mean, your place can erupt, especially in that middle section where it's like, all of that. Unfortunately, if your church isn't up for like really throwing themselves into it, then this song is probably going to be a fail for you. Like, let's just be honest. You need to know your church and know if you can take them to this place. And I think the fact that this song is showing up in the top 10 says that there are a number of churches that it's almost like they've taken a bit of a risk and gone, we just want to like stand up, take a deep breath and shout it out and really gather together. So I think it's great.
Yeah, I think speaking of like, can your congregation handle it? It's also like, can your musicians handle it? Because this one's like, I mean, it's a different style than like what a typical worship song that I do in my church, at least. I guess it's more of like a gospel upbeat style, which is obviously full of energy and great, but it's definitely a style that your team has to be used to playing as well.
That's for sure.
And I just want to say that this song is 2-year-old tested in the fact that just the other night, me and my 2-year-old niece were dancing to it. And as soon as I turned it on, she was running around the room like it was some sort of
so great.
Charismatic Pentecostal revival meeting, just sprinting around. So definitely this one is... That's a good one for an upbeat worship song.
Yeah, and it stood the test of time. So this is another song that is not new. I mean, it's not as old as How Great Thou Art, but definitely, I mean, when did this come out? Do you have the date on it?
2002. It's 20 years old this year.
A song that can be in the top 10 20 years later says something. And so there you go.
Number 8 on the list is My Testimony by Elevation Worship, another newer one. And this, I
Yeah.
feel like this is like a trend that I'm seeing in fast worship songs now, is to have like that like the ostinato of some acoustic guitar part, like dun
Yeah.
dun da 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 dun, because we're gonna see
Yeah.
that with another Elevation Worship song, What I See later, and then what like Battle Belongs is kind of like that. That one's not on this
Hmm.
list, but just like there's another instance of the instrumentals driving that feeling, even though this one's only 97 beats per minute, which is still fast, but not as
Yeah.
fast as some of the other ones on this list.
Another thing I noticed about this song is lyrically, it's a song of celebration and victory. It's like, from death to life. So if you want to think about like an upbeat celebration song and matching it with a theological lyric, you're going to be talking about like, this is what's happened to me. This is my testimony. So beyond even the music, and what's happening is the music is matching with the lyric of giving voice to people to say, here's something that's gone on in my life and I'm excited about it and I'm around everyone. And if you watch the YouTube video of Elevation when they led that, that's what I was watching this morning. It just struck me. What a great testimony and good theology. I think there's good theology in this song. It's not just an emotional, celebration. It's not just a party song. It's like you're singing the truth, right?
Yeah, and I think sometimes that's the criticism of these faster songs, is like
Yeah.
they're just fun to have fun. Like, not to call out David Crowder, because I love his songs. I just think
Yeah.
of what's that one song that's like la 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 la
Yeah.
hey la 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 la.
Yeah.
Like, there's no
Yeah.
theological truth in that. It's fun to
Yeah.
sing, and I don't think it's a bad song. And I can't even think of what song that is.
Yeah.
I can't think off the
No,
top
no,
of my head.
no, no, no.
Yeah, but
Can't
like
remember it.
like those are fun to sing, but not every fast song is just void of theological truth. I mean, this one's talking about like I've seen Satan fall like lightning, like the fall of Satan, and then our
Yeah.
rise as Christ has defeated sin. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
It's a song of victory for sure.
Yeah.
And mirror that with the acoustic. It's got a really great acoustic sound. So your acoustic's not going to get drowned out necessarily by electric and bass and synth. There's room for that acoustic vibe. But I would kind of call it acoustic rock, really. That kind of, and if your church can do that, then here is a great, great piece, a great celebration together as your church.
Yes, and I'm all about the acoustic guitar. I've got all those
Mhm.
acoustic tutorials on my channel, so anytime the
Love it.
acoustic guitar shines, I love it.
Yeah.
On to number 7. Number 7 on the top 10 upbeat worship songs for 2022 is Great Things by Phil Wickham. And this is the start of Phil Wickham on the list, because Phil Wickham just kills it apparently with
Yeah.
upbeat worship songs, because he's all over this list. He's all over like every list on your website, but just
Pretty much.
one of the
He,
premier songwriters of this
Yeah.
generation, I imagine.
Yeah, and you even mentioned Battle Belongs, which probably the only reason why that didn't make this list is because it's not fully like upbeat. It's almost like medium fast. It might be on that list, but this one, Great Things, another song, not a brand new song, which again testifies to like this has stood the test of time, especially in our modern worship. I've led this a lot. Great words. It's not difficult to play, not difficult to sing, even in a smaller group. I've led this with 20, 25, 30, up to 50 people, smaller groups like that, as well as, of course, it can be done with full choir, orchestra, band. I mean, you could just let it all hang out. And another thing that I love about this song, I'm just kind of looking at the lyrics here, but there are some songs like this that just feel like they're a great entrance to worship. So the first words are, come, let us worship our King, come, let us bow at his feet. So, I mean, these are the kinds of words that you can just imagine playing that intro and then opening. You don't even have to say anything, and you're inviting people in, and suddenly their blood starts to shiver a little bit because of the beat, the drive. That's what music does to our emotions. and you match that with the, hey, let's get together, right? So that's kind of what this song says to me.
Yeah, I think you made a good point there. Two good points actually. Was that a lot of times people are looking for these fast songs for the beginning of their service. So this one's kind of
Yeah,
cool because it like really fits into that slot.
yes,
And
for
then
sure.
also just I guess sort of speaking about the emotional side of music and the emotions that it can draw out is like obviously we know that that's not the purpose of us doing it, but I think that part of that plays into supporting the message of the song. Like it would feel really weird to sing, "Oh hero of heaven, you conquered the grave, you free every captive and break every chain. We dance in your freedom." Those lyrics if it was like this
Yeah,
slow dragging
yeah,
song. So
yeah,
if we want a song to be celebratory, then it's probably going to be upbeat.
yeah,
So that makes
for
sense.
sure.
And
Awesome.
I also just love how this song, I feel like it follows in the tradition of ancient Israel in the Psalms, where they would always celebrate what God has done in the past and
Yeah,
believe what he's going to do in the future. So I just love to
yeah,
carry that theme. Like we can remember all of the great things that God has done in the past and trust that he'll continue to work in the
yeah.
future.
I'm just looking at the stage chart of the song, which is free actually in PraiseCharts, and you'll just notice that the chord progression is it's quite repetitive. It's not a difficult song to sing. You can get into that kind of like rhythmic pocket, like a 1 2 6 4, kind of like 1 6 4. All those chords just keep cycling around. So great song for that.
Yes, and if you don't know what the stage charts are on Praise Charts, this isn't a commercial for Praise Charts, but
Huh,
I really like those stage charts because that's
awesome.
exactly I usually have my music memorized, but if I was going to
Yeah.
use music, that's exactly what I would use. So can you just give us like a quick 60-second breakdown of what those stage charts are?
Okay, quick commercial, and it's a commercial for nothing because they're literally all free
Right, right.
on PraiseCharts, and I do them all myself. But just basic music theory is most songs are made up of 1 2 3 4 5 6 chords. The seven sometimes gets in there, but like a one is C in the key of C, F, G. That's 1 4 5, and so once you start to learn the rhythm of a song and the basic structure, then just exactly like you're saying, you only need those numbers. Or if you don't want the numbers, you can have the chords. But it's really great if you can understand numbers, because then if the song is in C, you're like C, F, G. If the song's in G, you're like, okay, it's G, C, D, or whatever it is like that. So we break the songs down into their most core, simple, repetitive components, and then we put those in front of you on stage. If you're a guitar player, you lay it down at the bottom of your feet. The fonts are big, you can see them, and you just take a little glance down there. But people are going to wonder, how does he know how this song goes? It's like they're little cheat sheets. So there you go.
And it's free. So amazing.
Yeah, there
Thank
you
you
go.
for that resource. Oh, I also think that
Awesome.
those are like a great stepping stone if you are trying to memorize your music to
That's right.
understand that each chord is not like this thing that happens on its own, but it usually happens in a pattern. And I think that the stage
Yes.
charts are really the secret to understanding that. On to number 6 on our list, and that is "This Is Amazing Grace" by who else but Phil Wickham
Oh, Phil
again.
Wickham.
Guess
Yeah.
what? He's at it again with another. I don't know what year this came out in, but this is another. I mean, this song's been out for a while, right?
Yeah, definitely a classic. And the beautiful thing about This Is Amazing Grace is, let's say, especially if you're finding yourself leading worship in a broader spectrum of people, maybe you're invited to lead worship for a community of churches, a gathering of, I don't know, an Easter, everyone's coming together, or there are people that you don't know as well, and you need something to be like, I just want to get us all on the same page, and let's get the emotion, the blood boiling a little bit. That's what fast songs really do from an emotional perspective. And then let's sing about something we can all agree on. It's like even the phrase "amazing grace" just ties the church together for 500-600 years, ever since "Amazing Grace" was written. So I think that's why this song has been so powerful and so widely reaching, is it's like it's brought us together in a lyric that we can all agree on, and in a rhythm we know the song still feels kind of fresh, and so I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to bring up that idea of theology once again, like this song
Yeah.
is the substitutionary atonement. If you're into
Yeah.
theology, like this is amazing grace, this is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross. Like that is
Right.
speaking of the substitutionary atonement of Jesus. It doesn't use that word substitutionary atonement, but
Yeah.
that's what we're singing about. So just because it's fast doesn't mean it doesn't have that theology in it.
Right.
And just a fun fact, I didn't realize this, but a guy named Josh Farrow wrote this song with Phil Wickham and Jeremy Riddle, and he was the lead guitarist and background vocalist for Paramore. I had no idea until I saw that today. So if you're a Paramore
Fun
fan,
facts.
somebody from Paramore helped write that song. Number 5 on the list is What I See by Elevation Worship, the new one on the list. And I don't know
Yes.
about you, Ryan, but I saw like pretty much every church do this for Easter. Like as I was
Totally.
scrolling through my Facebook feed on
Yeah.
Easter morning, it was like live stream after live stream of "Do
Yeah.
you see what I see?"
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like it was the song, the Easter song of 2022. I mean, that whole album, the Lion album, has a ton of great music. It was rich musically, theologically. So many great worship leaders were were modeled through that song. Same God, Lion, What I See. I mean, just song after song, and Elevation is really maturing as a songwriting collective and church. So yeah, and I feel like they're always pushing the boundaries a little bit of like, can we sing that? Can we do that? But the church is grabbing on, and so I love it. Chris Brown is fantastic. I've interviewed him a few times, and really love his heart for the church and for his own community, and as a songwriter and worship leader. So love it. And
Yeah.
it's a song about the resurrection, right? It's about vision, what I see, re-grasping our vision, and it's about life. It only makes sense that it would be an upbeat song.
Yeah, I love those lyrics that are like, it starts off like, "Do you see what I see?" Like asking the question.
Yeah.
Then it's like, "If you see what I see, then you know what I know. Anything is
Right.
possible." So it's like, it
Yeah.
just reminds me of that Bible verse where, like, if the resurrection didn't happen, then our faith is useless. It's worthless. But because the resurrection happened, like, anything, God can do anything because that was
Yeah.
like the greatest miracle that he could do.
And a unique thing musically about it, you know, that there's one note, but it has a very particular rhythm, like like if you don't have to play a lot of notes, but you got to get that rhythm right in order to establish the tone, the groove of the song. So I just think that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, there's that ostinato on the guitar again, where you're just playing the same rhythm over and over
Yep.
and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, this song is legally the fastest song on our list here.
Okay.
It comes in at 148 beats per minute for the
Wow.
click track. Obviously, maybe you'd do that in halftime with like 74 beats per minute, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's a fast click track. It's pretty crazy.
Hey, and just letting you know, we got orchestration, choir parts, all the full gamut. I mean, we went the full distance with this song. Lots of variations on that at PraiseCharts.
Number 4 on the list. We're inching up to number 1, but number 4
Okay.
is yet another Easter song. What are the chances? Just like
Yeah.
What I See by Elevation was this year's Easter song, I feel like maybe for the past 3 or 4 years, Glorious Day by Passion, which is number 4,
Yeah.
has been the Easter song. I did that song at my church for Easter, actually, so
Yeah.
I still use it. Great Easter song.
Yeah, it's definitely a classic in another classic, kind of like This Is Amazing Grace. Everybody probably would know it, and I love how certainly it starts kind of fast, but it moves into this kind of second phase of the song. You can really see it when you watch the Passion video where they let it, and then the whole place is just doing this. It's just so awesome to see. Another interesting musical note I find about a number of these songs, maybe you've noticed this, is that kind of like rise and then stop. Like it's just like a rhythmic element. Maybe we could just chat about that, but it's like you take the song up and then you just drop it off a cliff, but there's a definite like stop of the band. And I think that happens in this song, and it just, I don't know, something happens to our collective emotion when we bring a song to a level and stop, and then the voices will really carry it from there. So I found that in a couple of songs that we're talking about today.
That reminds me, I used to always tell this story about when I first started leading worship and the people in my congregation wouldn't sing out a lot. So I would bring the band volume up like super loud, and then all of a sudden we would drop out and you just hear people singing because they were used to the loud part, and they were like, they'd sing for like 4 measures and then be like, oh my gosh, I could actually hear myself, and then they'd back off. I don't recommend doing that, but that's just what that made me think of.
Well, that's what happens in some of these songs. And I think it's just a reminder that in a fast, upbeat songs, it's still about the voices. It's not about the band ultimately. And the band will carry the voices to a place and then drop out to just, it's almost like a reminder of, oh yeah, we're singing, we're carrying this thing. We are the feature, right? The voices that are singing. So
yes, for sure. That's a good point.
I mean, of course, God is the feature. I'm just saying, as a worship congregation, that's it's really important.
Instrumentally, the voice of the congregation is always the missing piece. I always think about that whenever we're doing like a worship rehearsal and something doesn't quite feel right. I have to remind myself that my church is going to be singing along with me on Sunday, and that's probably the piece that's missing. Number 3 on the list for top 10 fast worship songs of 2022 is I Thank God by Maverick City Music. This one gets me going. This is a fast one. Yeah, and it also like kills my arm when I'm trying to strum along on the acoustic because it's got like that fast, repetitive acoustic strumming.
Well, I have to admit, I have never led this song, and I just would admit it intimidates me a little bit to think, could I pull this off? You know, could I get my church or my congregation or people to like rise to that level? And I'm so fascinated when I was watching the Maverick City, video of this. The 2 worship leaders, Dante is one of them, and they seem so authentic and so in that groove, in that pocket, the way they're just singing and raising their hands and the people are around. It's not a stadium. It's like it's a small collective environment, like a lot of Maverick City songs are. Like this is one topic I think I just would want to say is when you do a fast song, can you pull it off authentically so that it looks like you're really, I mean, it's not like we're just performing, but I'm just saying that if you're going to do a fast song and it looks like you're trying too hard, then it could flop, right? Do you know what I mean? And this is a song that I feel like that could happen where somehow it's got the authentic voice of the song has to kind of deposit into your band so that everybody looks like they're in there with it, and not just trying to make it happen or trying to sound like the recording or look like the video, kind of thing. So
yeah, I think that's a great point. Ryan and I were talking, we might have already said it in this video, I can't remember, but I know we were talking about beforehand about these songs and how like some of these songs aren't songs that we would do in our church, and it really comes down to knowing your church. It doesn't mean that the song is a bad song or that it wouldn't work in another church, but just sincerely think to yourself and be honest with yourself, like, is this a song that, like Ryan was saying, that I can pull off, not just musically, but I love that, like, authentically in my church?
Yeah.
Is this a song that would be authentic to the people of my church?
Yep.
Number 2 on the list is God So Loved by We the Kingdom. Not, and I'll say this, Ryan. Not only was the song on the list once, but it was also on the list twice. There's like two different versions that people are using, and it's just
Yeah.
I forget where the one was at like number 8 or something, and this one was at number 2. So I took the higher one, but that's crazy that this song is that popular that it was on the list twice.
Yeah. Well, We the Kingdom is, I think they are a band that they have brought a new sound to modern worship. I mean, I was actually just at a church music publishers conference down in New Mexico last week. We were chatting a bit about We the Kingdom and what kind of a risk it was. Even Ed Cash has been a producer and a well-known, well-established, but always kind of in behind the scenes. He was part of writing How Great Is Our God with Chris Tomlin and so many songs. Imagine a guy who says, okay, I'm going to bring my kids and we're going to form a little family band and then we're going to do this thing. And people are like, you can't do that. You can't just bring your kids out on the stage and think everyone's going to love it. Well, I mean, and they brought a new gritty rock, funky sound. I don't even know how you define it, but it's different, right? And it feels fresh and alive. And this is one of the biggest, most signature songs, I think, of We the Kingdom that has defined that. So I love it.
Yeah, I mean they've got a ton of songs. I was just thinking you were talking about how you can't just you could take your kids out on stage and do this and this, and I'm like, and
Yeah.
they were like, yes, we will, and then we'll take over the world because they're just like out of nowhere. I feel like they just like popped up, and obviously, like you said, Ed Cash has been instrumental in like if you just look at his discography of what he's been a
Yeah.
part of. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like he just showed up on the worship scene all of the sudden. He's been doing this
No.
for a long, long time. So it's
Yeah.
cool to see him like do something not on his own, but just like I get the feeling that that's the kind of music that he personally likes, and I think that's why
Yeah.
it works because it's authentic to him.
Yeah. Well, and fun fact about this band is I'm pretty sure they've got a whole new album just sitting in the can waiting to come out. I don't know when the release date is, but we'll be all over it. I'm very excited to see that.
I haven't heard that. You got the
Yeah, well,
inside scoop.
that was just following Franny. Franny is Ed Cash's daughter. I was on her Instagram and she's like, oh, we just went and listened to the new cuts of our new songs. We're so excited, but I can't wait for that. It's always going to be fresh and new and inspiring.
And finally, we have reached number 1 on the list. And if you haven't guessed it yet,
I'm doing drum roll.
it's Phil Wickham again with House
Oh,
of the
here we go.
Lord. Who would have
Oh,
guessed
yeah.
it? Phil Wickham was on this. This is his 3rd song now on the list.
Yeah.
This is like the celebration song, I feel like, of this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening to a song story, and he was talking about how he wrote it during the pandemic. And just one of the things that he said was how like a lot of people think that in the song the house of the Lord is talking about like the church building, but he was saying in the song story that it's not the church building. Like he wrote it with this idea that we are the house of the Lord. So when we sing there's joy in the house
Right.
of the Lord, we're singing like there's joy inside of us because what Jesus has done for us. So I
Yeah.
just loved that
Yeah.
explanation.
Beautiful. Yeah. Like you were saying, there's a few songs we can look back on there that kind of like defining songs of the pandemic. On the slow side, The Blessing was a song that came out right in March of 2020. And of course, that really caught people. That's not going to be on this list. But House of the Lord is definitely a song for that season to see, because so many of us were like, I'm sitting at home on my bed wishing I was in a sanctuary with people around me and I'm just watching television and it feels different. I mean, we all had different experiences of what that was like, but this song just came and deposited into that era of ours and reminded us that, like exactly like you're saying, I love that story, that the house of the Lord isn't the church building that we're not going to. It's the people. And I would say it feels like this song is the song of 2021 and 2022 because it's one of those that just won't go away in a good place, right? It rose to the top and it is staying, and it's great. So love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's got, once again, like, I'm going to keep using the word ostinato because I think it makes me sound smart, and that's one of the few musical
Yeah.
terms that I know, but just that keyboard part, like, dun, 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 like, just over
Yeah.
and over again. And also, this is like one of the slowest songs on the list BPM wise. It's only 86 beats per minute. So it's like right on
Yeah.
that edge. Like, I feel like that, like maybe like 85 beats per minute is like the edge of it being a fast song. So
Yeah.
it just squeaked over that. But it brings so much energy just in the arrangement of it with like the big choir singing behind him and like the guitar part. Dun, 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 dun. What a great,
Yeah.
catchy guitar riff.
Yeah. It's good to just remember that I suppose we label these songs as fast songs, but fast songs aren't doesn't always just mean like tempo fast. There's quite a range that can happen, but it's more about what does this song doing to like the collective emotion of a group of people singing, and what's the band doing, and there's like a certain kind of musical, emotional, lyrical dance that's kind of going on where you can tell this song is calling me to kind of like stand up, sing out. Sometimes they're keyed a little bit higher because you got more energy going on. And I mean, come on, people, let's not be afraid of the emotion and how our bodies are made and how our bodies unite together with lyrics and melody to make this music happen. And we need the meditative, slower songs. We need the upbeat songs for different portions of our service. So I think this list is great for that element of that.
Yes, that's a great point. And to be fair to Praise Charts, I'm the one calling them fast songs, but Praise Charts
Yeah.
actually rightfully calls them upbeat songs. So whenever you
Oh
check out
yeah.
the link in the
Okay.
description below, it is the top upbeat worship songs, which is
Right.
probably the more appropriate term for these. I just used the word fast because that's
Yeah.
what I think of. But yeah, definitely upbeat is different than fast. It means something slightly different than fast. It's not just about
Yeah.
playing the songs as fast as you can. Hey, Ryan, well, thank you so much for joining me for this talk. I look forward to having you on to maybe talk about some other song lists as well. This is something I plan on doing regularly. I did one for Easter and one for Christmas and one for just popular songs for this
Yeah.
year, and this one was just about fast songs. So thank you for lending your voice to this conversation. And where can people hear more from you, hear more from Praise Charts?
Well, obviously you could just go to praisecharts.com, and it's kind of like it's a cliff that you almost fall off when you go into Praise Charts, and then there's just lists and search, and you can just find something, and something will lead to the next thing, and that'll lead to a list. Or and hopefully in the scavenger hunt that you kind of are going through, you'll be able to navigate to the exact songs that you're looking for that are a fit for your church. And we've got, just to note, there's with many of these songs, we probably have anywhere from 5 to 12, 10 arrangements of them, from simplified versions to full choir, full orchestra. So you don't have to sound massive and big in order to do these big songs. There's ways to do them even in your small group, and just enjoy an appropriate expression of these in your worship setting. So hopefully you find that a great resource.
Well, thanks again so much for joining me, Ryan, and thank you for watching this video. Until I see you in the next video, keep leading worship well.